And now it's time for me to request the chair of this session, Mr. N K Singh, chairman of 15th Finance Commission, to please say a few words.
Thank you very much. At the outset, my profound gratitude to the organizers, to Shailendra, to the outstanding team which has put together today's remarkable event, to others who have spoken with such fervor, such emotion, bringing out the historic contribution of this iconic shaper of India's destiny, Dr. Manmohan Singh. I've heard in rapt attention by Mr. Nitin Gadkari, anecdotally describing really what one important decision unshackled for India, the concept of public-private partnership. There could not be a more elegant demonstration of an idea which Dr. Singh knows there was such hesitation, anxiety in even the government which he had the honor to serve. We heard him. We heard, of course, my very good old friend, and no doubt his friend, Larry Summers, the former US Treasury Secretary, who really did not want to add something, that he was a great ally of Dr. Manmohan Singh during the balance payments crisis of 1991, when both Montek and I had turned to him for some accommodation to be shown by the US Treasury in India's requests for important support from international monetary institutions. Of course, to others, to his colleague in Parliament, to Shashi, who's spoken with fervor. He's been a colleague of mine in Parliament. Shashi is always a very articulate speaker, and he outdid himself today for good reasons. To, of course, Raja, the prospective congressman, we hope he wins. This is really India's footprint in the reawakening of a new kind of diaspora. Somebody joked with me the other day that considering what has happened to 10 Downing Street, if you join Cambridge, which is where Dr. Manmohan Singh was, Cambridge, you also know the way to number 10 Downing Street. This history in some ways has taken quite a congruence. Of course, to my very good friend, Manpreet Badal, who is such an articulate speaker. By the way, he's also a great historian, Manpreet. Some of the stories which he has will keep you amused for the whole evening. And Manpreet, I haven't spent that time with you for a very long time. It is time we really catch up. To, of course, the very bright Mr. Tyagarajan, the young finance minister of Tamil Nadu, who has a big chart ahead of him. Of course, Justice Patnaik, whose work, with judgments, we are all in deep admiration with, all spoken with one common purpose, to really add their voice to this choice on this occasion of the conferment of this award by TIOL so justifiably to someone who has shaped India's destiny in a major way. What can I say about Dr. Manmohan Singh? What can I not say? I just whispered to Justice Patnaik that I had the privilege to know him from much longer than perhaps any of you in this audience. I first met him in 1969 when he was working in the UNDP and had not joined the Indian government. And we were on our way for an important non-aligned conference to Lima, Peru, when Lakshmikant Jha, as our ambassador to the United States, had really brought him to us as a person whose voice must be heard. This was 1969, 1971. Shortly after that, he came to the Ministry of Commerce, which was his first government assignment, as the economic advisor to the Ministry of Commerce. It was his sagacity at that time which balanced the challenges in the Ministry of Commerce, which at that time was committed to more and more policies by the state in taking over the private sector from foreign trade. From that time onwards, as a chief economic advisor in the Ministry of Finance, with difficult challenges, and the rest, of course, is history. It really fills me, therefore, with such nostalgia that there is hardly any assignment which he has not really had the privilege and has brought glory to that assignment, where I was not privileged in some manner or the other to have known him, to have been connected by him in multiple ways. And therefore this evening, Shailendra fills me with a great deal of nostalgia. And I will end really and make three broad observations. First, in his self-effacing humility, which has been pointed out, his dedication, his honesty, which has been talked about, his commitment to the high office which he has held. I recall that when I entered his room just before the 1991 economic package was unraveled, I remember those indelible words in the finance minister's office. We will change India. Too many cobwebs have kept back the energy of this nation for far too long. I did not quite understand the meaning and force of those words when those words were mentioned to me in that room. This was before the 1991 budget. And then in a couple of weeks' time, the budget unveiled where India has never looked back upon. Look at the audacity of those decisions. Look at the audacity of some of those lines which are coming to fruition. Who would have thought of something like sale of public sector undertakings? He did it so cleverly. He first called it the bundling of shares. Even the word disinvestment was considered abusive and was not considered at all acceptable. From the unbundling of some shares to now happily talking about privatization of public undertakings, where this is one of the important strategies being outlined by the government. Look at the sagacity of that man speaking. But what was remembering one thing, that leadership is the art of the impossible. Politics is always about the art of the possible, combining the impossible with the art of the possible. Is that congenital ability which Dr. Singh has, which is really unique to him. If we track down all the important decisions which were taken, you'll often find that sometimes his reticence is only a tactical reticence, waiting for time and opportunity, when the leadership component and the leadership aspect of his would overcome that reticence to take some of those important decisions. Indeed, Manpreet, you have recited some of the important challenges which we face today in global economics. The challenge of inflation, the challenge of high energy prices, the challenge of a war, the challenge of geopolitical uncertainties, and the multiple challenges which make it difficult to combine the virtues of growth with the virtues of managing inflation. Indeed, these were, Manpreet, many of the challenges in a different way that Dr. Manmohan Singh encountered in multiple aspects of his decision-making process in the Ministry of Finance. Think of it at that time. If you look and juxtapose what India faced at that time is what the world is facing now. And to that extent, let me end by saying that his lasting contribution is not only to reposition India in the world, but he used to tell me, Nandu, we have a lot to learn from the world. With justifiable pride, as he looks back with nostalgia, he can say, the world has a lot to learn from India. This indeed is a historic change which his sagacity and which his leadership has brought about, repositioned India as the global virtue. Thank you, Dr. Manmohan Singh, for this great service. It is with justifiable pride that the jury selected you. And indeed, I have been given, Shailendra, the privilege to speak to him about a man about whom nostalgia fills me, anecdotes overpower me, as I look back with pride and sharing the pride with the mentorship which he gave to many like me in the long years of my career and 50 years of my association with this noble person, Dr. Manmohan Singh. May, sir, be blessed by your continued presence, and may God give you good health to always provide the sanguine advice on the right course of action, which will never deter India from the path of its glory, some of which you have charted. Thank you very much.